California volcano alert. The inevitable eruption of 7 magma-filled mountains, and it will happen according to geologist Joshua Nevitt of Daily Star reports California is at risk from 7 high-threat volcanoes that could produce explosive eruptions worse than the disaster facing Hawaii. Well, Hawaii did erupt, and it looks like it's moving again. It could have been a pause, and that it will restart quite soon. Now, the terrifying scenes from Hawaii that we saw with Kilauea erupting, flattening dozens of homes and forcing thousands to evacuate. And we have witnessed the destructive forces of the eruptions there. Across the world, 1,500 volcanoes are considered potentially active and at risk of eruption. This is according to the U.S. Geological Survey research. Most of these volcanoes are situated in the Ring of Fire, around the Pacific Ocean. It's an area of intense seismic activity where many earthquakes and eruptions occur. Now, contrary to popular belief, the U.S. state of California, which resides on the Ring of Fire, is one of the states at risk of volcanic activity. Not just earthquake activity, but also volcanic. Now, most people are ready for earthquake activities, but they don't know what to do in case of a volcanic eruption. Warnings about a big one earthquake greater than magnitude 7 are often issued by seismologists looking to spread awareness of the dangers. It's not fear-mongering, it's dangers. It's overdue for a big eruption, a big shaking in the Southern California, the Los Angeles area. Now, volcanoes, meanwhile, are not given the same attention, despite there being 7 of them, all considered to be a high threat across the east coast of the state. Dr. Margaret Mangan, a volcano researcher for USGS, said an eruption comparable or worse than the one that hit Hawaii could be possible in California. She said that California is not only earthquake country, it's also volcanic country. Dr. Margaret Mangan, head of the U.S. Geological Survey California Volcano Observatory. We have a Hawaii Volcano Observatory, Yellowstone, California. We also have Alaska. Now, although there are no current activity, volcanoes active in California, an eruption is inevitable at some point, according to Dr. Mangan. Now, some of the, from the map here that we see, we have the Cascadia Range, Mount Shasta Volcano, Lava Beds National Monument. We have Black Butte, we have Medicine Lake Volcanic Field, Modoc Plateau Volcanic Province, Lassen Volcanic National Park, Sutter Buttes, Clear Lake, Sonoma Volcanic Area. We have the Pinnacles National Monument, volcanoes and volcanic areas of California. Mono Inyo craters are just north of the Long Valley caldera, which is, of course, as we know, a supervolcano. It's about 600 miles southwest of Yellowstone. And basically, that's where the Mono Inyo and Long Valley, Mammoth Mountain, Devil's Postpile National Monument, that's where the hotspot was from where Yellowstone started about 20 million years ago. And it moved up northeast to where Yellowstone is today. Then we have the Ubibi craters, the Golden Trout Creek volcanic area, the Coso volcanic and geothermal area, Split Cone, the Cinder Cones, Lava Bed National Landmark Area, Amboy Crater, we have the Pisgah Crater, we have the Salton Buttes, all of this, basically all of California, as we know, along fault lines, they are found on fault lines, is volcanic. It's a subduction zone, very active. It's one of the worst in the world. Now, she said, I would say yes, it will happen here. Dr. Mangan said, maybe not in our lifetimes. 3 volcanoes, Lassen Volcanic Center, Long Valley Caldera, and Mount Shasta are categorized as a very high threat. Very high threat. Lassen Peak, Long Valley Caldera, which is a supervolcano, and Mount Shasta. There are 4 others: Clear Lake Volcanic Field, Medicine Lake, Mono Inyo Chain, and Salton Buttes are deemed to be high threat. Well, we've had a lot of earthquake swarms in Mono Inyo and especially Salton Buttes. Now, all 7 volcanoes are being monitored by USGS in the event they threaten to unleash an eruption on the scale that we saw in Hawaii, said Dr. Mangan. She says some have that style of volcanism in their eruptive history, but we also have the potential for explosive eruptions like Mount St. Helens eruption that most people do remember. Now, predicting when a volcano might erupt is not possible, but Dr. Mangan said Californians should be made aware of these dangers. She said, we are aware and prepared for that type of a hazard, but we also have to be prepared for volcanic hazards. Long Valley Caldera in eastern California has the potential to wreak havoc across the whole world. Around 760,000 years ago, the 3,600-foot deep magma-filled mountain exploded on an apocalyptic scale. Chances of another super eruption of epic proportions are thought to be highly unlikely. But experts have told Daily Star that high consequences of another massive eruption should not be ignored. David Shelley, research geophysicist for USGS, said there could be as little as months to prepare for an eruption. He said USGS are keeping an eye on Long Valley, which is a supervolcano, as we said, to research the processes that precede eruption. He said very large eruptions are exceedingly rare on human timescales. Smaller eruptions are more frequent and can have big impacts in the local area, but limited consequences on a large scale. The main consequence of a very large eruption is large volumes of ash deposited over a larger region. Now, we have been told by USGS that the eruption of a volcano most likely to happen quite soon would be around the Long Valley caldera that you see in the middle here of this map, at the Mono Inyo, just totally north of it, the Mono Inyo craters, and that they would be a lava. It would most likely be a lava eruption, just like we saw in Hawaii last year. Now, here we have the high threat volcanoes in the north, Medicine Lake, and Mount Shasta, Lassen, and Long Valley. These are the high threat volcanoes. The moderate threats are the Soda Lakes, Coso Volcanic Field, high threat also, of course, Salton Buttes and Clear Lake. Now, Clear Lake it's a huge lake in the middle of, surrounded by mountains, and it happens to be a huge volcano. Most people travel through these areas, see them beautifully pristine and wonderful nature. They have no idea what's lying underneath them. Okay, now the ones that erupted just the last 1,000 years, believe it or not. Medicine Lake in the north, Mount Shasta and Lassen Peak, as you can see, and they're basically about 50 to 100 miles from each other. Now, I wonder if they share the same, perhaps, magma chamber, if they're that close and they erupted that close together. The other one is, of course, erupted within the last 1,000 years, Long Valley Caldera Mono Inyo chain, 300 years ago. Lassen Peak erupted 1914 to 1917, Mount Shasta 200 to 300 years ago, and Medicine Lake 950 years ago. So you see the Mount Shasta and Lassen Peak were witnessed as having erupted with the new settlers. And Lassen Peak, of course, at the turn of the century, just 100 years ago. Amazing. Now, looking at what's taking place there today. Now, looking at Seismo Berkeley and even the USGS, unfortunately, USGS does not have any earthquakes for today on the West Coast. Any, just a couple of them, about 7 in Alaska, a couple of them in Hawaii. Maybe they haven't had a chance to post anything yet. I have no idea. Seismo Berkeley, again, has nothing. But going to, I'll leave a link for you to Alatra. We have a tremendous amount all through California, especially the south, and Salton Buttes, but I'm very concerned about the the earthquake swarms in Nevada, and it's in the area of the Nevada caldera belt. Nevada is full of volcanoes, especially the southwest. At Celeste, Central Nevada Volcanic Field, Nevada Caldera Belt, Western Nevada Volcanic Field, it's full of volcanoes. Stillwater Complex, northeastern Nevada, and we've had a tremendous amount around Caliente. I'll leave a link below and you can see for yourself. So we have a lot of earthquake activity today. South California, quake swarms in Nevada, and I don't know why USGS has not posted all these things yet. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.